Okay, what are the fastest marathons that you can do in order to achieve your PB, in order to set yourself up for success and get the best possible time? For example, London is really popular marathon. Second half is slow. There's no doubt about that. It's really difficult to run a negative split at London because the second half there's a couple of ramps or hills, a couple of 180-degree turns. It's not a fast second half. Berlin is a fast course, and that's why the world record is often set there. Now, you may have some difficulty with wind and rain, especially in that last 10 kilometers. There's often a headwind, but if it's a fast course and if it's dry and if there's no wind, that's a really fast course. And obviously, you also have to take into consideration, no matter what pace you're doing, how many people around you are going to be running a similar sort of pace. So if there's winds, if there's crosswinds, if there's headwinds, if you're in a group, obviously you can work together, similar to cycling, you can work together, dig in, tuck into a group and move forward with less energy, and therefore you can save your legs for the last 10K where you really need it. Seville is a really fast course. February, the temperature is going to be like between 10, 12 degrees on the start line, raising to about 18, 19 degrees. So if you're coming from the UK, for instance, it might feel a bit hot in the last 10K, but the chances are that you've already done a lot of the hard work and you're not going to feel it so much. But it's a fast course and it's much easier. It's much easier to get a place in Seville Marathon than it is to get a place in Berlin Marathon, and it's much easier to get a place where you need to get to, especially if you're trying for a 2:30, a 2:20, a 2:45, a 3-hour marathon. It's much easier to run faster, and there's a lot of great runners in there's a lot of great runners in Spain, but there's also a lot of depth. So there's a lot of people running quick times. There's a lot of people under 3:30 and a lot of people under 4 hours. So it's a good place to go, have a nice holiday. I'd always suggest getting there a couple of days earlier, settling in, finding your food, finding your porridge, your pasta, booking an apartment on Airbnb or a place where you can cook your own food. Don't leave it to what the restaurant's gonna make you, how much oil's gonna go on the food, that kind of thing. Get there a couple of days earlier and then have your holiday part afterwards. So have the race on the Sunday, and then the next day it's got to be struggling walking, so do something simple, and then have your holiday afterwards. You can easily get from Seville to the beach really easy. So if that's what you like to do, if that's what your family likes to do, it's very easy to do that. Valencia is another really, really quick marathon. Beautiful finish, beautiful race. It's like a city of modern architecture. So there's lots of museums, there's lots of things to do after the race, but it's a fast course. And as you can see from times, and it's not, when you're looking at kind of where you want to be, if you want to go to the States and do a marathon, if you want to go to Asia and do a marathon, look at what the fastest times are. If there are African athletes doing 2:01, 2:02, 2:03, you know it's a fast course. You know if they're doing 2:06, 2:10, 2:10, in order to win the race, you know it's probably not a slow course, or it doesn't have that draw, it doesn't have that prize money to draw over the African athletes in order to run fast times. So you have to kind of take into consideration both things. Obviously, the profile of the race, you want it as super flat as possible. Seville is rapid, Valencia is rapid. If you go to somewhere like Barcelona, it's one of the most beautiful it's one of the most beautiful cities you can possibly imagine. It's a fun city. You're gonna run past all the Gaudi architecture. You're gonna run past Sagrada Familia, Arc de Triomphe. You're gonna go through Barceloneta. You're gonna go through the main city. It's a beautiful marathon. Running in Spain is like a party, yeah. So the whole thing, the pasta party before. The expo, which I'd suggest spend as little time as possible walking around the expo. It's easy to get excited, it's easy to get caught up in the buzz around other runners. Get in, get your number, get out, get back to your hotel, apartment, place where you can cook, and do your sightseeing afterwards. It's such a crazy thing when people have trained specifically for 3 months, and then before that to get fit, and then they spend 2 minutes sightseeing in the 2 days before, and then they have tired legs in the last 10k. It's not rocket science. Don't be caught foul to that. So make sure your holidays after the race. But those Seville for me and Valencia are two of the fastest runs you can do. Berlin, a lot of Brits go across for Berlin Marathon. I'd say things like accommodation and things like that, book it early, otherwise it gets mega expensive. But yeah, it's another great marathon and really well, it's obviously German, so it's super well organized. Within the UK, there's some quick races. You can, like Manchester is quick, but there's not the depth of runners, so you're not gonna, whatever time you're going for, you're not going to have a lot of people in the 240 pack, a lot of people in the 3 hour pack, a lot of people in the 220 pack. There's just not, I think it's growing, but it's just not going to be there. It's not as well organized as obviously London Marathon. London Marathon, it's a slower second half, but you're going to have the depth. There's going to be a lot of people trying to run 220, a lot of people trying to get the qualifying time for the Olympics. It's probably going to be the British Championship, so you're going to get a lot of people running sub 210 or aiming for sub 210 at 212, whatever the qualifying time for the Olympics or the World Championships is that year. So you're going to get a lot of people, I don't know the figures, but a lot of people are running 3 hours and below. So think of it like that. But also, if that's become part of your life, and then you've got your family involved as well, or you just want to use running to travel, which has always been my game, like do get over there a couple of days before. If it's a European trip, it's only like 2-4 hours on a flight. 2 days before is fine. If it's further afield, if it's more than 4 hours, give yourself 3, 4, 5 days. If you're going over to the States, and if there's a time zone difference, it's tricky. You got to there's so many times when I've just messed that up and I've got there too early and thought, you know what, I'll just stay in the rhythm, and you know, you've got jet lag, you've got all sorts of stuff going on, you just don't know where you are, and then your legs are not fully recovered. And you can tell that in the days before, when you get off the flight, okay, you're a bit tired, you know, your legs are kind of like balloons, and then that day you want to do some walking, or ideally a little bit of a jog. Next day you want to feel a bit more, but if you check your heart rate will be elevated, and you want to get that down to normal levels before you race. So if you're going to the States, if you're going to Asia, if you're going to Thailand, you're going to Southeast Asia. I love racing in Thailand. It's not going to produce fast times for you. My best times have always been like 10-15 minutes slower for a marathon, because of the way things are set up over there. You're not going to be able to run a fast time in Southeast Asia, but you're going to be able to have an amazing holiday. So you have to weigh up all those things. But if you're trying to get the absolute best out of your body, in order to say, there was once in my life where I ran a sub 310 marathon or a sub 250 marathon, whatever it is you're going for, Seville, Valencia, Berlin, those for me are the fastest marathons you can run in Europe. Good luck.